Joe and Hampton, lights dim, it's game time. Interview sharp, cut through like a shank line.
All right, Stick Lounge. We're on Facebook, Stick Lounge. We're on Instagram at Stick_Lounge. YouTube at Stick_Lounge_podcast. TikTok at Stick.Lounge.podcast. Email sticklounge@DAT.creolesoul.com. You guys want to use the Stick Lounge podcast studio? Hit us up. We got everything set up. We'll set you up, create some content. You want to use the Stick Lounge itself? Hell yeah, you do. We got a full PA system set up for 4 mics. We've got 70-inch TV. We've got darts. We've got cards. We've got chess. We've got, I think we got Uno. We got everything, guys. Hit us up. You want to do private party karaoke? You want to watch a movie with your friends? You want to have a birthday party? That's what it's here for. Des Moines, Washington, right off Marine View Drive, right above Creole Soul. Thanks for listening. All right. And we're here. What's up, Hamp? How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? I'm looking forward to today, so I hear we got some interesting people in the house.
We do.
I always like interesting people, You get to learn something. I try to learn 2 things new every day, so,
That's good.
Yeah.
What, real quick before we jump to our guests, what's going on, Creole?
We got live music coming up on March 15th. Joe S.
Yeah, we can't say his last name very well.
Yeah, we can't say that. So I just call him Joe S. Not Joe Shelton, but Joe S.
Yeah, the other Joe S.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. He's always a crowd pleaser when he's in the house. So, but we got a couple of food truck jobs coming up and a catering job on March 10th with the Museum of Flight. It's just
Nice.
a drop off, though. So
I like the Museum of Flight. It's a cool place.
So, yeah, but that's about it for right now,
All right, cool. We got a wine tasting March 8th up here in the lounge.
Yeah, I forgot.
We got Brown Family Winery coming in.
We need to go pick that up.
We're picking it up the day of.
The day of. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I told her I wanted to get it just the day right before, or the day of. So we're gonna go get that morning, and then we got 4 wines, 1 brut, I believe, and then 1 white blend, which is new, and a red blend. And I can't remember what the 4th one was. It was supposed to be a Malbec, but they didn't have a Malbec.
But they didn't have it ready at the time.
Yeah.
So,
all right, cool. That's what we got going on right now. Hit us up, guys, for anything else. Our guest today, we have Larry Snyder. Larry, how you doing?
Thank you. Wow, that's quite an entry. Thank you. I'm doing quite well. Thank you for this invitation to be here, and
thank you
I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, and we have Patrice sitting in with us today. We'll give you some too.
Thank you.
welcome,
It's all about
guys.
Des Moines. It's all
Welcome.
about Des Moines.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, Larry, you hit us up on Facebook, and I really appreciate it. Can I ask how you saw it? Did you just come across our podcast, or?
I follow a lot of the Des Moines pages, and I believe there was a cross share there.
Nice.
And I've always been interested in Des Moines business because, as we will probably discover in this conversation, my family was invested in this community, both as property owners and business owners. And I'm also deeply intrigued by the theater project and just commercial residential development
The
in
theater
general.
looks amazing. They've done a great job over there.
It's really incredible to see
Yeah.
what has transpired. The most important thing I think about that project is the integrity of keeping the front of that, so the history remains. But
They did a good job.
Yeah,
They did a very good
it's
job. Have you
incredible.
toured the inside of the building?
I did. I went on a hard hat tour,
Yeah.
and it was probably 50% finished. So
Okay.
looking forward to seeing the theater when it's done. So
Yeah, I mean,
It's really beautiful.
They did a great job
Yeah.
with the way they inlaid like the license plates and the different lumbers that they used, and just the overall different textures that they put in the building is pretty amazing.
yeah, no, I'm
I
looking
love
forward
it.
to seeing the finished
Yeah,
product.
the most important part to me was not knowing that it was there, but the sign.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
that-
yeah,
that
the Des
lights
Moines
up
sign.
front. Yeah, the Des
Des
Moines sign.
Moines.
I
very
like
cool.
lights, so and to keep it original.
Ooh, shiny.
Yeah.
Keep it original is a good thing, like you said, the front of the street,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and we got so Patrice is going to sit in with us today. You know Larry, right?
I know Larry.
Yes.
Yeah, we worked together with the Des Moines Legacy Foundation many, many years ago when we were very young. And he's always done such a spectacular job.
Awesome. And we're going to have you
electioneering.
we're going to have you back to talk about some of that stuff too, because you've got
Yeah.
a lot going on. So
Yeah, we're coming up.
so that's going to be great. So this is your test run.
This is my test run.
This is your first time on a podcast?
This is my first. This is my first time.
All right, very
Great.
cool.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Larry. So, dude, there's a lot to talk about with you. I don't know what direction you want to go. I mean, I know you have a couple different books out. You've done this before. before. You were in California helping with the fire relief. Am I correct with that? When
The
we spoke?
plane landed 90 minutes ago
Yeah, yeah. What part of California were you in?
in Santa Monica.
And that was
So,
your second trip out?
I've been to Santa Monica. Well, it was the second trip to California in a week, if that's what you mean.
Oh, I just thought for the fire relief. How many times have you?
So the fire relief, we did the first event up here 2
Oh.
weeks ago.
Okay.
And so traveling down there to host that event was kind of the second half, or the main event, we'll call it, in Santa Monica at a beautiful, it's actually the Jewish Cultural Center called the Skirball Center, which is in Brentwood, a very upscale part of Los Angeles.
Sure is.
So, yeah.
You know Brentwood,
I
Hemp?
know Brentwood very
Yeah.
well.
Okay. That's cool. How did it go?
Oh, it went quite well, and it was. It's a blessing to be a blessing. So to be able to go down there, and these are personal friends, people I've known for quite some time, but to go down and offer some relief and offer them help is really the purpose of my life. And so, it's something that I love to do once or twice a week if possible. But that in particular was really devastating, and really they don't even know how devastating it is.
Sure.
I spent quite a bit of time with the regional director for the Western United States of the Red Cross on this trip, and he was telling me things that people's grief track is starting to show.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really the mental health part of something this big is really important for us to understand, because most people don't.
Well, and I was listening to another podcast, and we don't need to talk about California much, but they were talking about, and I guess I hadn't thought about it originally, but it's like, yes, it's been devastating, but think about the impact going forward. Think about the insurance companies. How many people had that same insurance company that it now has to pay out? Materials for construction, labor for construction, the permitting to get the construction done. And now I didn't think about that, but the emotional and mental impact,
Yeah, big time.
and the people that are there to help with that. Like it's so much at once. I don't know how you get through it, to be honest.
Well, compassion fatigue is a real thing, and it shows up in a major way during disaster relief work. I've had the privilege of being involved in disaster relief work, and my limit is about 5 days.
Yeah.
And then I can't handle it. It's not that I can't handle it. It's that I believe that I'm pretty much tapped out of compassion, full-time compassion after 5 days.
Sure. No, that's understandable. I mean, it wears on you. Definitely wears on you.
Well, think about it. These people are living in it. So
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. I hope the best for them, obviously,
no, they're doing the best with what they can. The good thing about California, Southern California, is it's generally decent weather down there.
Yeah.
And this is the opposite of what our friends in North Carolina and South Carolina are going through.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, that story is out of the news cycle.
Yeah.
So
Crazy how fast that stuff leaves the cycle sometimes.
this is how media works, though.
Yeah.
And so that means that the rest of us have to be there to pick up the pieces for sure.
Well, that's amazing, man. Commend you for your work, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Now, you had talked to us to jump off of that.
Yeah.
When you originally reached out, your family has been in this area for a very long time. You said 1950s?
So my father, I grew up in the furniture business. My grandfather's first furniture store was on 152nd in Berrien.
Okay.
And in 1961, when I was 6 months old, my parents bought a home. So we lived at Five Corners in Berrien. They bought a home all the way out in Des Moines.
Okay. All the
And
way out.
My dad used to tell me this story that when he told him, he was sure his mother, my grandmother, would be so excited that they bought a new family home that everybody could fit in and all this. And when he told her where it was, she said, that's so far away. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to come out and visit.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So
We go to Berrien for breakfast sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
So
That's hilarious.
right up Marine View Drive from here on 234th Place, the Cordell family had built a probably about a 50 home tract, and my parents bought one of the first homes. My dad, I think he told me that house was $27,500.
Nice.
And it was stretching him like crazy because he told me that the house payment. Well, first of all, they had to borrow the money from my grandparents for the down payment, but then the payment, the actual mortgage payment, was $85 a month.
My gosh.
And he said that just stretched them thin.
Yeah,
Man.
we would like to go back to those days.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now it's
85.
now the mortgage payment is $85 a day, right?
I put $85 in my tank today.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Anyway, so it was a wonderful childhood. I'm so fortunate. I have 5 sisters. No one should have 5 sisters, but I do.
And you survived.
Well, sort of. Anyway, and a proud 1980 graduate of Marinere High School, and then went to
Nice.
Harvard on the Hill. Have you ever heard that terminology?
I have not, no.
Nope.
So those of us who were in the part of the class that made the top half possible
Okay.
Exactly.
went to Harvard on the Hill instead of a university, and Harvard on the Hill would be Highline College.
Oh,
Yeah,
I gotcha.
so
okay.
that's Harvard on the Hill.
I'll
That's
have
what
to
we
let my
call it.
daughter know. She graduated from
graduated
Highline.
from
Good.
Harvard.
Yeah, no. So she's really a Harvard graduate.
She's a Harvard graduate.
She's going to eat that up. Just so
Harvard
you
on
know.
the Hill.
Yeah, she sure will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it looks good on my resume. I
There you
got
go.
a 2-year degree from Harvard on the Hill. So
That's amazing.
Anyway,
Really smart.
yeah,
My
2
daughter's
years.
about to do that, so
Good.
I'm with you.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Harvard on the Hill.
I'll have to
It's
let her know.
Harvard in parentheses on the hill.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. So you were telling us earlier that your mother ran the building across the street.
My mother ran preschools and daycare centers for 40 years, and my sisters were involved in that business. And I grew up in the furniture business with my grandfather and my father. So my parents, with all these kids, kind of had a built-in labor pool,
Yeah.
unpaid, of course, when we were young. But the school here, they operated. My mother and my sisters operated for about 40 years. And but her first school was in the central district of actually it was in Holly Park. And if you're not familiar with Holly Park, it's where Rainier Beach is. It's kind of the tough part of Rainier Beach.
I know Rainier Beach area,
Yeah. Anyway, so that was really my window into shared humanity, as I like to call it. And I'll tell you just a quick example of that. There were 100. She had 100 children under her care, and all of them were what was referred to at the time as welfare children. We call them DSHS kids today. And one day, I was about 10 years old at the time. There were 2 kids that were dropped off at the school, and at 6 o'clock, about half hour after closing time, those 2 kids were still there.
Wow.
And so my mother had to make a decision. And all of these kids were in a tough spot, right? They were either children being raised by aunts or uncles or friends because their parents were in prison. That was that was kind of ground zero for the crack cocaine community,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Holly Park. And so the government at the time had this wonderful idea that if they doubled or tripled the sentence for crack cocaine possession, that would somehow decrease the demand.
Jeez.
But anyway, what it really did is it just fractured families. And
Yeah.
so anyway, my mom had to make this choice, and her choice that night was to bring them home. So I had 3 sisters, and now here are 2 more kids. And of course, my dad was, hey, wait a minute, we have a house full of kids already. We really can't take
You got an
2
$85
more.
house payment.
Right. Yeah, we got to get these kids working. But
Earn your keep.
these kids were 2 and 3 years old. Anyway,
I'll
so
give him a little bit.
yeah, maybe half day. But anyway, so they slept on the couch that night, and my parents agreed. You know what? Whatever happens, we have to. We have to turn these kids into the public welfare system if their mom doesn't come and get them. Anyway, so the same day or next day, same problem, no mom. And so my mom has to make a decision, and she'd promised my dad, of course, that she would turn those children in if they wouldn't, if their mom didn't show up. Their mom did not show up, and so my mom had another choice to make, and she basically brought them home and begged for forgiveness from my father for her outrageous compassion.
Yeah.
Anyway, those 2 kids were with us for 12 years, and so we raised them.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that was, again, a window into the soul of my mother that I carry forward every day today.
Yeah.
I get out of bed every day to honor my mother's life because of the example that she showed me.
Yeah.
So that's really the what's important about her childcare days is the exposure that I got to what a incredible human being she was.
Yeah, and what a huge thing to do. I mean, because it's not a good program that the kids go into, you know, when they go into foster care and stuff. I mean, there's just too many faults to even discuss there.
Right.
It's really tough.
It is very much, very much. So when did she move into, did she open this?
So
Or-
this was,
I'm pointing behind me because there's a building straight across from where we are right now that used to be.
It's fortuitous that this studio is right across the street from Des Moines Child Care. The original owner of it was my mother's first boss. So on the property where Auntie Irene's was this giant house.
Okay.
And the Eklund family ran that. It was called Drop Tot Inn. That was the name of it.
Okay. All right.
Isn't that great?
Kind of like drop in.
Drop Tot Inn. Anyway, so my mom worked for Gene Eklund, and then took that experience and moved to Seattle to run her own show.
Oh, okay.
And so ran the school in Holly Park, and then after she was done there for 8 or 10 years, this opportunity came available to buy Des Moines Child Care.
Oh, really?
And that's what happened. And
Oh,
so
very
they
cool.
ended up buying it from Gene and Earl Eklund, and ran it for 3 or 4 decades, and then ended up selling it to fund their retirement.
Nice.
And then
Good for them.
the business. And then they ended up selling the property to fund my mother's memory care, who she subsequently had a 4-year-long battle with vascular dementia. So
Oh, really? Well, I'm sure that was hard.
really hard, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Well, it sounds
but
like
important.
you're carrying her legacy on. So.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
doing a great job, man.
Thank
for
you.
Sure. For
Thank
sure.
you.
So with the furniture industry, was that, how did that work?
My grandfather started a furniture store with less than nothing on 152nd and Berrien. He was offered a sweat equity deal, that's what we would call it today, with a gentleman who wanted to open another location. And so he offered him that, and they opened the store in Berrien, and then my grandfather bought him out and then opened another store. And then in 1975, when South Center went in, that was really the end of Berrien as a commercial district.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And also, there was this idea about putting 48 furniture stores in 2.5 blocks, which became
Whoa.
Parkway Plaza. And anyway, so at that time, my grandfather was ready to retire, but he also was getting involved in medical science, which is perhaps another story for another day. But
Seems like a big jump.
yeah. Anyway, so my father and I actually went to work for Lazy Boy brand.
Oh, really?
And they wanted to open proprietary stores, and the first one was going to be at South Center. So I had the privilege of opening a business with my father from the absolute dirt up.
Oh, wow.
And that was a huge lesson at 14 years old.
For sure.
But and that was where I began my first career. Was at 14 years old, and I learned everything about everything because my father allowed me to be exposed to it. Whether whether it was buying, obviously selling. My dad was the media buyer, so how do we make logical decisions about advertising?
Yeah.
How do we sign leases? How do we do all this
That's
stuff? And I
awesome.
was 14 years old, so I
Never going to get a better education than that.
no, and I don't know how my dad arranged it, but he got from the 8th grade on, I had a 1 hour early release every day because I'm not joking,
Yeah,
the
no, I
driver
believe
would come and pick me up at school, and we would go make the afternoon deliveries together, take me to the warehouse. We'd get the next day's deliveries ready, and then same thing. That's probably why I was in the part of the class that made the top half possible.
How long
that's cool.
How long did you do this?
I was involved in home furnishings until I was 40. So until the year 2000.
Okay.
So my dad retired in 1992, and then I stayed until then. And I wanted to leave much earlier than the year 2000, but I had guilt, and I kind of was born into it like my dad. I thought that's what I was supposed to do, but after a series of conversations with my dad, he said, "Look, if you have goals that are beyond this, you've been doing this for already a long time." And I did have goals, but I didn't have any time because we were working between 50 and 70 hours a week every week.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And running these businesses. And so anyway, so that was a huge blessing to have that be
Definitely
that many years of my life, but also to be able to work and make my dad proud. That was really my motivation.
Sure, it
And
made
then-
you guys really close.
Yeah. And then and then also my grandpa, to make him proud too.
Very cool.
And so I have so many incredible examples in my life
Yeah.
to follow. And my real mission in life now, in addition to honoring my mother, is showing my daughter an example of life that perhaps she can take a piece of with her along the way too.
That's awesome. How old's your daughter now?
She's 19, and she's a student at Cal Poly University in San Luis Obispo.
Nice.
She got her brains from her mother.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
My daughter's going to school. She has her associates, and she's going to school for anthropology right now.
Mm-hmm.
She might adjust over into I don't know. We were talking about what she's going to do in anthropology in the future, and I'm like, I don't know. Anyways, she's acing all of her classes.
That's
she's
great.
doing great, and I'm like,
Good for her.
You're not getting it from me, girl.
Yeah.
Keep
Right.
going. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Study habits matter. They really do.
Yeah, they do. For sure.
Girls study more than guys anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Guys, they ain't got time to study.
Yeah.
You know, I think back and I'm like, I could have applied myself so much more than I did. I had too many things on my mind at the time, you know.
That's why when people
were more
say
important.
this is not my first rodeo, I say back to them, boy, I sure wish I had listened more during my first rodeo.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
It was all learning.
It
You were just
was.
building the foundation.
That's right. And I'm still learning.
Yeah,
so.
and it's that thing too as a parent, you want to do the best you can and then hope your kids do a little bit better than that.
Right.
And then their kids do better than that and it just keeps going, right?
Yeah.
Every day is a learning experience. Got a question. How good is Lazy Boys?
It's the best. They've owned so much of the market share for so many years, and we were really fortunate, as I said, to get in on this ground level as they were opening these proprietary stores. So it was the number one brand for, well, it still is. Lazy Boy as a
I had a couple of them.
yeah, as a conglomerate company, Lazy Boy, I believe, is still the largest furniture company in the world
Yeah.
because they own a whole bunch of other companies, plus what's called a contract line, which is business furniture.
Don't they have one on 212? I think
That's the
Yeah,
warehouse, the
I believe
regional
so.
warehouse.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
we weren't-
And that's what you got out of that was Lazy Boy.
Lazy Boy, yeah.
Yeah.
It stands out when you see it. You know, like Lazy Boy. First thing you think is furniture. You know,
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
No, it
That's
was
funny.
good. It was like I said, it was a huge blessing, gift for me. I was able to get to know the founders of the company in Southern Michigan.
Wow.
And that was, again, a gift
That's
of
huge, yeah.
just getting to know them and wanting to know them and wanting to know the family. The daughter of the founder lives in Issaquah, so that was kind
Oh,
of
really?
a connection. Yeah,
That's
she
pretty cool.
married a Boeing engineer. So.
Well, I'm sure they're doing quite well. I'm sure they're doing
Yeah.
quite well.
They're very well retired by now. So.
So I definitely want to get into kind of more what you're doing currently.
Sure.
But I'd like to reach back a little bit into you seemed in talking very excited about what's going on in Des Moines.
Absolutely.
What was it like growing up here? You said you were here when they built the marina out and put everything in for the mooring, and so what's
Sure.
What was I not here for, or
Right.
Hampton?
Well, first of all,
Enlighten us.
Des Moines still has so much of the bones that have been here forever. And again, physical places, but also the memories that all of us have made here is what makes this place so special. And so to have the marina kind of as the centerpiece of the city. But then as I drive here on Marine View Drive, I see small businesses and other businesses that are attached to larger businesses. And I see people visiting them, and I see their parking lots full. And that makes me very hopeful. I see places like B&E Meats right over here, again, to have a community butcher
Amazing.
still in your town is
Yes.
a miracle,
Yeah,
right?
I love it.
And so all of us either worked at Johnny's, which is where Red Robin is now. There was a big grocery store there that was eventually bought by QFC, and then of course QFC moved to the other end of town, and then they left, and now I think it's the dollar store.
Yeah.
And then there was a kind of the shining women's clothing store, Benson's it was called, and Mrs. B had the most magnificent store. And my grandmother worked there, my oldest sister worked there, and it was the place that they would change the displays once a week.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
after we would go out to dinner, my dad we'd always pull through there, and my mom would look at this and look at that.
See what was
And
out,
I think
yeah.
my dad was smart, though, because he always went after they were closed, right?
There you go.
Right.
I would stop.
Right, but they're closed. We can't go in there. But anyway, business is one thing, but then the community is made up of people, right? And there are some remarkable people. Patrice is one of them that are
you are.
spending their time making sure that the legacy of this city is not forgotten.
Yes.
And that is huge, because a historical society can do one thing, and that is preserve the history. But an organization like the Legacy Foundation, they're taking where we are now going forward.
Yeah.
They're trying to preserve and celebrate, but also trying to make the community better today for the next generation. And so I just I miss living here. I currently live in Jill and I live in Redmond, and although I love it, I come down here, and a piece of my soul belongs here and is here, and my parents too. They probably hold the record for the number of miles walked at the marina, and I'm not
awesome.
joking.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's a great place to be able to go out and,
and as I mentioned earlier, this theater project is just really, really remarkable, and I'm really looking forward to. I'm sure at some point I'll be using that stage for
that'd be amazing
for events.
for sure.
So how did you two guys intervene? Patrice and
Well, I met Larry. He was one of our first auctioneers at a Des Moines Legacy Foundation Bayside brunch
at
Anthony's home port.
Oh,
And
okay.
Anthony's was instrumental in fundraising with us for about 20 years. We were their poster child for the community, and every Anthony's has one organization in each of their communities that they support, and Legacy Foundation was fortunate enough to be the one for Des Moines.
Nice.
And we really cherish that. And the staff came out, they volunteered.
Yep.
They didn't get paid to be there. And basically we paid for the actual food, but nothing else. We got the space. They threw a big party, and we had a wonderful celebration of community members that came and shared their resources with the community.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about, engaging and giving back. That's what we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so next time you go into Anthony's, the downstairs part, I want you to imagine 150 people at a fundraiser and then trying to do an auction standing at the bar. Because that's basically...
I go there often. Actually, we just won a gift certificate.
we got a date to do.
Hamp and I got lunch for two?
Yeah.
Lunch for two,
Next time you're in there, imagine Larry standing at the bar dressed in a tuxedo trying to catch bids from 3 different directions.
Yeah,
And
it's not a huge space either.
but
the downstairs.
Well, Larry, you're quite a showman. You were more than capable of taking care of that.
thank you.
Yeah, he sounded like a stud doing it. You know, what I mean,
Yeah.
Well, we did a cornhole competition on Thursday last
Yes,
week.
you did.
And Patrice was there, and we were just talking about this and getting her on for Lexi Group. And we were like, we have Larry coming on. And she's like, I know Larry. I was like, well, then come say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, organizations like the Legacy Foundation keep an eye on the future, and also celebrating the past and making sure that everybody's represented in this community. Obviously the senior community is really almost like the safety net of this wonderful waterland city.
Sure. Yeah. And, we moved out here 4 or 5 years ago now, and I moved to Washington in 2017 for work, came out here, and we got a place in Renton.
Yeah.
We just found a little place there, decided we'd move there and then figure out where we were going to go from there. And it was during COVID that my wife was like, we gotta move. We were in an apartment at the time, just trying to figure things out. And we looked at, I don't even know how many houses. And we finally moved into Des Moines, but we're up near like Woodmont.
Yeah.
And so when we first moved here, I just worked constantly. I think my longest day at work was like 23 hours. I just worked and worked and worked, I was beat down, and my wife said, get in the car. We're going to drive down. I want to show you where we live. And I'm like, okay. I was tired. I didn't want to go anywhere. And we came down to the marina, and I was like, holy crap. I didn't even realize this was here.
It's incredible.
And then getting to know people in the city, or the town, I'll call it. I'm from a very small town originally. I
Where?
grew up, Fallon, Nevada.
I know Fallon.
Do you know Fallon?
I've been to Fallon.
Have you
Nevada.
really? You're probably one of the only people that I'll talk to that have been to Fallon.
I haven't.
I drove from here to Fallon, Nevada.
Well, that's that. You're probably one of very few.
Yep.
Yeah, so I grew up there. That's where I'm from. I mean, farming. You were saying you got out of school early to do stuff with your dad. I'd get out of school early to go help on the farm.
Absolutely.
Or my buddy had his dad had a greenhouse, so we'd go work that. Then I moved to Phoenix when I was like 19.
Yep.
I had a friend going to school there, and that was the big city,
Of course.
Met my wife there, started our family. Work moved us here. And when we got to Des Moines, I'm like, I like this.
Yep.
This is my speed. I'm not a Seattle guy. Phoenix is fine. It's so spread out. You know, it's not anything like Seattle. But no, I just really kind of fell in love with this area and all the people that I've met, you know, everything.
I'm of the belief that once you allow yourself to be near this beautiful water, you will never want to not be near it. That's why I keep saying, when I come to Des Moines, there is this natural draw. It was kind of like when you were putting those curtains down. I was thinking, what are you doing?
I was trying to come Blair.
I know you were going to say something, but you took away my view.
But it's all good. No, it's all good. I just really, again, am glad that you and your family fell in love with that same
amazing
draw of the marina, because it really is a special place, and it's a part of this community that everyone has some great stories about. And again, so many things in my childhood mattered because of that marina. Oh, yeah. It was my parents' very favorite place to be, was just walking at the marina and talking to other people that were walking to the marina and walking their wiener dog and on and on and on.
The farmer's market down there. I love going down there. You know, have you been to, what's it called? The little bar down there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, is the answer.
Quarter deck.
Quarter deck. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice.
It's a great place for people to connect.
Yep.
Yes. It is, definitely. I brought my friend Richard here from Arizona.
Yep.
And he saw where we lived, and we showed him the place. And pretty soon, I hired him on. I got him hired on at my location here for work, and he lives across the street from you now.
Yeah, he does. He's in my neighborhood.
That's great.
Appreciate that too.
Watch their music calendar down there at Quarter Deck. They have a lot of good singer-songwriters, but one of them's name is Curtis Moore.
Okay.
Go see the man.
Okay.
Yeah, he has got, he's Bob Dylan-esque.
All right, very cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Curtis Moore.
And speaking of great artists, there's going to be another great artist over at Creole Soul coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, we got a few people coming up at Creole Soul.
One of my best buddies.
We got Michael Powers.
Michael Powers.
Michael.
Yeah.
Great
He's a
guitarist,
good friend.
man. Yeah, he's really good. He's going to have it locked down in April, and he got Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday.
I think it's the 25th, 26th, and 27th.
27th,
I've been
yeah.
looking at
She's
that.
got it.
Yeah, we're going to do Sunday brunch, you know.
That's a great booking. For
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
Michael's been doing great music for a long time in this area.
Yeah, I like him. You know, he actually is a crowd pleaser. Great personality.
Yep.
Very nice guy.
So
Great jazz musician.
Yeah, he's an amazing guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So now we reach back a little bit. What do you have going on now? Well, obviously you said you came back, you wanted to talk to us because you're excited about what's going on. Let me ask you that. What do you see going on here? Have you seen a recent change? Is this kind of an ongoing thing?
Well, I think what happened was a lot of small cities like Des Moines, the economic basically activity was sucked out of it for various reasons. Again, malls did this because they drew all of the economic activity to them.
Yep.
And now what I think people are starting to understand is that small business matters more than it ever has. And
100%.
what I mean by that is, so for example, if you go to a mall, pretty much everything looks the same no matter what mall you're in.
Yep.
Right? It's the same store. It's probably the exact same footprint of every one of the stores. And trying to find help in those stores, it's all centralized. It's like you go find what you like, bring it over here, and I'll take your money. And it's transactional.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that what most people like now is to, number one, be acknowledged when you walk into a business.
Yep.
And if you have a question, you don't have to say, hello.
Yeah. Right.
You have, and so what I see here, and I'll use B&E Meats as an example. If you walked into B&E Meats and said, hey, I'm having a barbecue on Sunday. I'm not 100% sure what I want to cook. What do you suggest?
Yep.
Those people are going to have 3 or 4 suggestions.
I do it all the time.
If you go to Costco and try to find somebody to ask that question of, again, Costco's a wonderful place to buy meat. But again, a place like this is going to give you the service that you need to make a good decision. And I'll bet you that the price difference isn't that much, and service is worth paying for.
Yeah, we got some salmon from there, and I was talking to the guy, different wild Alaskan, and I think they had some sound. They had some farm raised. I'm like, what do you recommend? Like, I want a good cut of salmon. And we talked through the whole thing, and I bought what he recommended, took it home. Some of the best salmon I've ever had. It was very good.
Because you knew what you were doing because someone told you. So anyway, but again, to answer your question, it really is these small businesses, first of all, they are someone's dream, right? and as an entrepreneur, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've frankly hardly ever worked for anyone else in my life. I know that the difference between a big business and a small business is the people working behind the counter.
Yeah.
Passion.
Yeah, the passion. And it's
Passion.
somebody's dream, right? It's somebody's desire, and they spent forever and ever thinking about this. They probably
Speak
put
now.
every dollar they had into it.
Speak,
Yeah,
speak,
right.
speak.
No, I think having traveled around the world,
Yeah.
I have seen that America is truly a unique opportunity for small businesses.
Yeah.
You cannot do this in other parts of the world for all various reasons, but I just really am excited about Des Moines today, but also again in the future. I also knew that eventually the real estate market would catch up with Des Moines. The ridiculous real estate market
Yeah.
would catch up with Des Moines, and now it's here.
Yeah.
And so if someone is spending 7 figures on a home or condo here,
Right.
they're new to the community, and they're going to discover what's here,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
this is their new,
Right.
their new place
New stomping
that they
grounds.
call home. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Hampton and I were talking about it. We've talked about it several times, but to, the small business aspect of it, I remember back in the day when you'd go to, we were working on a car recently, and I was like, man, remember when you go to the auto parts store and you'd talk to that guy behind the counter that had been running that parts store for
Ever.
40 years, 50 years, and he'd say, no, you don't want that part. What you want to do is take this part, and you're going to tweak it this way, and trust me, it's going to last you a lot. There's none of that anymore.
Listen,
You know,
man,
there's-
I was in AutoZone, not to cut you off. I was in AutoZone today. I took the air compressor off my truck and went in there, and I said, hey, I need this air compressor, but the motor is in the food truck. I said, it's an 8.1. I said, but here's the air compressor, and here's the part number. And he's looking on the computer. He said, you sure it's an air compressor? I wanted to tell him it's a ventilator system.
Right.
It's sitting right there in front of you. It's an AC air compressor. You gonna ask me if it's an air compressor?
Yeah.
I like, you know what? Thank you.
So this is exactly how my grandfather became successful in the home furnishings business. Is he took every single conversation as if it was the last one he would ever have, because people would come to him with a need, and he was going to do everything in his power to make sure that he could take care of that, find what that person was looking for. And so that's the example that I follow in business is whatever client I'm serving, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to try to go to the end of the earth to make sure that people not only get taken care of, but that I'm memorable enough for them. So when they have a need, they will hopefully remember me, and that's earned. There's no, you can't market your way to that.
Sure.
A good meal in a restaurant is frankly more important than the person serving
That's
it.
right.
Because you can have the coolest server in the world, but if the dish is bad,
If the dish is horrible,
they're not coming back.
they're not coming back at all.
Well, how many times do you go to a chain restaurant, any chain restaurant, and say, we'll use you for an example. What's the gator like? I've never had gator. And the cook brings you some gator so you can try it. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen.
This
It's
is
like,
what Gator's like.
yeah,
right?
yeah. Hamp does that kind of stuff all
I
the
do it all
time.
the
Yeah.
time.
No, I think that's important. I
I'm
think it's
such a giver. You know, if you
Yeah.
gotta try it firsthand. You know,
Sure.
I don't want. I can't give you my description because we all got different descriptions. You know.
Yep.
But here's yours.
You
Here's
don't tell them it
yours.
tastes like chicken.
Right. You know. Tell me what you think after you try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and that's the heart of the chef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the most generous people in my world in philanthropy and fundraising that are business owners are restaurateurs, without
Yeah.
a doubt, without a doubt. And they're survivors. They're ambition. You know, they work from dawn to dusk and way past
Speak
dusk.
again. Speak again.
No, it's true. I
I'm
see
here
it.
at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
and everybody
I
else is
got it.
asleep. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, besides working, you donate. You provide. I mean,
does.
Yeah, I-
Hampton provided all this
I
food
feed
for
the
our
homeless a lot.
Yeah.
I feed the homeless at least twice a month. You
Yeah.
know.
So
I get in there and start cooking and box some stuff up and
Yep.
get in my pickup truck and drive around. Well, I know where they're located at. So
Yeah.
you know,
I gotcha. No,
Been
I
doing
do.
it.
We both do street ministry work, and so
Generous.
it's an incredible opportunity. Food is the heart of the soul, isn't it?
Food is the heart of the soul. You know, it is. You
Yep.
know, it's definitely. You know, we all got to eat.
Yeah.
That's
you know,
for sure.
We all have to eat.
So what do you have going on now? What are you currently doing?
So when I left the home furnishings business, I had a kind of a short stint in film, working
wow.
on major motion pictures.
Wow.
And
I didn't, when I was tracking you, when I was following you and trying to figure things out, I didn't see that part.
Yeah, I don't really talk that much about it because it was a relatively short period of time.
Okay. You're not up for Academy Award tonight,
no, I
huh?
was no.
Oh my God.
Do you have an IDBM though?
I do not, and I don't want one either. I remember I just came from Los Angeles today. I was just in a room full of people
There you go.
that all have that,
Right.
and some of them 2 or 3. But anyway, and so that was an interesting experience. It was actually an extension. The largest project I worked on was a movie that was a MGM distributed Addison Street film called Madison, and it has a very much a Seattle tie to it. One of the projects my grandfather took on in 1958 was the Miss Berrien Unlimited Hydroplane. And so he and a handful of other merchants in Berrien decided to use that as a tool of economic stimulus, so bring people to town.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when long time ago, and trying to make this story as short as possible, I was at a Toastmasters meeting. I was real involved in Toastmasters for a long time. And one of the speakers got up and talked about his passion for building engines for hydroplanes. And they came out of P-51 Mustang.
Cool.
They're aircraft engines,
Very cool.
right?
Yeah.
And I asked Peter when this meeting was over, I said, where are you doing this? He goes, well, there's this little boat shop / hydroplane museum down in South Park. And I rebuild the engines. He's a marine engineer. And that's what he does for passion. So I said, that's cool. You know, my grandfather was involved in it. I don't really remember much. And so, but I started asking my dad about it. And he said, yeah, your grandfather did this. And he found some pictures. And I said, that's cool. So I went, I told Peter I want to come down and visit. So I went down and visit. And there he is turning wrenches on this big red and white gigantic engine. And the director of the museum, and again, this is a boat shop, it's hardly a museum at that point, comes down the stairs and I introduced myself and I said, my grandfather was involved in this, but I don't really know much about it. And he said, what was your grandfather's name? And I said, it was Chuck Snyder from Berrien, it was the Miss Berrien. And he said, that boat that you're standing behind, that was your grandfather's boat.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
And it blew my mind. And
That's
that engine
crazy.
that Peter was working on was going in that boat.
That's
so
crazy.
my wheels started spinning. I talked to my dad a little bit more, and he goes, yeah, there's a couple people that are probably still alive in Berrien. Go talk to them. So I went and talked to them, and he goes, yeah, we loved your grandfather. He was the most beloved person
That's awesome.
in town because he wasn't afraid to do big things. And everybody, but he also knew that he couldn't do it alone. So he was really good at bringing people together. Does any of this sound familiar?
Yeah,
Anyway, so they basically did what they were going to do, and then I went to the city of Berrien and said, "Hey, I have this big idea, and I'll help raise the money. I'll provide half the money. If you'll provide half the money, I want to restore this boat as the original U4 Miss Berrien." And the museum wants to do it too because they can't finish it with the money that they have. And we want to bring that boat in, and we want to do the unveiling and have a huge public gathering. Yeah, just like they did in 1958. So we tried to authenticate everything they did in 1958, but in 1998.
That's cool.
Got it?
Yeah, that's
so
very cool.
Anyway, we made new uniforms and everything. So the bottom line is, the reason why I'm telling you this story is, meanwhile, back at the ranch, as we say at my house, there was a film, a screenplay being written called Madison, and it included the story of the 1971 Gold Cup in Madison, Indiana. So it's a true story.
Okay.
And the Miss Madison community had their own race boat.
Okay.
And in 1971, through kind of a crazy set of circumstances, they got the right to host the big race of the year, which was the Gold Cup.
Okay.
And so, then this is a little tiny town right out in the middle of nowhere. So the movie is about them, about the town, and Jim Caviezel played Jim McCormick, the town hero driver.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Jake Lloyd from Anakin from Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
He was the son. It was a father-son story. Yeah.
Okay.
And then John Cougar Mellencamp was the voice of the kid. And
No
because
kidding.
John's village, Seymour, Indiana, was like 15 miles away.
Oh, wow.
So John was really involved in that. So
That's
it had a 1970s soundtrack, which was right up my alley, like Three Dog Night,
Yeah.
Shambhala, all that stuff.
I like it.
Anyway, so that was the one of the films that I got to be part of. I was part of the film crew that got to do this, and that invitation came on behalf of David Williams, the director of the now actual Hydroplane Raceboat Museum. So he brought 20 people from Seattle, and we all spent 6 months working on this project.
That's awesome.
In Indiana, in California, here in Seattle, and they even did one scene in Chicago.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What a roundabout way to have a really cool experience. But
so it went from that, and I had been involved in philanthropy, community fundraising at the time, kind of fooling around in it at the end of the furniture business.
Okay.
And so then I went all in. And so I'm a professional licensed auctioneer. My license hangs at the Western College of Auctioneering in Billings, Montana.
Okay.
So although I'm licensed to sell animals and antiques and cars and all that stuff, I pretty much just provide services to nonprofit organizations like the Legacy Foundation,
nice.
the groups down in California. I work primarily today in Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so like today I came from Los Angeles because there was an event there last night. And then I start a series of events here in March.
Right.
And then I actually am going to New York to do my first auction, which I'm very excited about.
A lot of traveling.
It's not too bad. I've been trying to stay on the West Coast, but this opportunity came to go to New York, which if someone wants to have me come to New York.
Does your wife go with you much? Or?
No. The one problem of being the better half of an auctioneer is when you first meet, you go to an auction every week, and then at about 4 or 5 weeks, it's like,
I'm done.
Nah,
no more auctions.
no moss. I can't.
I'll stay home and cook.
I'm not going to eat that rubber chicken anymore. and Jill's the absolute opposite of me. It's the reason why our relationship works so well.
That's how it works.
So yeah. Anyway, she goes to I think maybe 1 or 2 events a year.
Now, dumb question. Do you do the fast auctioneer? Do you really?
Yeah. Well, that's why I went to college. I went to college in Billings, Montana.
Right.
So, and what you learn to do, that's called a chant. So
Okay.
2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20.
yeah,
That
okay.
one? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, do that one again.
I'm
one
used
more
to that
time.
in livestock
All right.
auctions.
Okay. So
us a little bit.
So 2.5 is translated into 25 cents, 50 cents, right? So or $25, $50, or $250,
Okay.
$500. So 2.5, 5. Got it?
Yeah.
2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20. Got it?
Yeah.
So that could be $250, right?
Yeah.
That could be whatever. And so you learn to sell in dimes, or in nickels, dimes, and quarters.
Okay.
5, 10, 20, right? Or 10, 10, 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70,
Yep.
70, 80, 80.
Gotcha.
And the chant is developed a lot in the breathing.
Okay.
Because you have to be able to breathe and chant at the same time.
Right.
Because often I will be with a microphone at my lips for 2.5 hours.
Sure.
And your vocal cords are an envelope, right? And so even my voice, I can hear it in these headphones, is pretty tired from last night because, again, I was either talking or chanting from 4:45 until 10 o'clock last night, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what happens is your vocal cords get really hot. If you saw me in a lit stage, so with a spotlight on me, you would notice that it looks like I have, at the end of the night, kind of a rash right here.
It's kind
and
of
if
red.
you touched it, you would say, wow, or do you have a fever? And it's like, well, your head's not hot, only is hot here.
It's a vibration
And so we can't drink cold water because it would make you instantly hoarse.
Oh,
and
okay.
that's why I must have drank some cold water.
I know what you're thinking about. I
left it all on the stage.
Singers go through this. So we have to be really careful about the water we drink. I drink room temperature carbonated water.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
what I drink.
So
With-
we understand better now. don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
Hamp had a guy performing at his restaurant it was a little while ago, and he was only drinking warm water and lemon.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's how you keep your voice. You're just trying to keep this this flap
Yeah.
from calcifying, because that will knock me out for a year. The surgery
Right.
takes it takes you a year to get your voice back, and then you would lose your chant. You'd have to literally start over.
Right.
So before every auction, I chant for. I don't chant as much as I should in terms of warming up,
do a warm up. Yeah.
but I'm doing a lot of times. I do it with the sound check.
Okay.
So I do chanting, and then usually people are like, "What's that guy doing?" Like,
Right.
I'm warming up my voice.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
The auction's not started yet, buddy. It's like, well, I gotta warm up my voice.
It has for me.
And I worked with an opera singer last night, and that was fascinating because to listen to him warm up, that was just incredible.
Oh, I'm sure.
From the LA, well, actually, he sang all over the world, but he's from the Los Angeles Opera, and he's known as the Black Andrea Bocelli.
Really?
And this guy was just off the chain, incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's like probably 5'2".
Oh, really?
Built like a rock. Yeah, it was so fun to be with him.
It always I'm always in awe when I see someone that size with a voice that big.
Oh, my
you know, you're
gosh,
like,
yeah.
holy cow, where's
Yeah.
that coming from?
Yeah,
I was
no,
watching The Voice last night, and they had a guy on there, probably thin as a rail,
Yeah.
but he sung opera.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he
Big. You think you need a bigger diaphragm,
No,
a
they don't,
bigger
they
chest.
don't all
yeah.
look like Luciano Pavarotti.
Right.
They don't all
I was
look
like, yeah, he gonna sing
Luciano.
some opera, all right, whatever.
Yeah,
He
And
come
that's-
out there and he blew it away.
yeah. And that's another kind of chapter of our lives that matters to Jill and I is we got a chance to live in Italy in 2004 and
So you wrote a
5.
book about it too,
Yeah.
right?
So the first book I wrote was a memoir from our village, which is called Montanare. And the name of the book is 10 Years in Tuscany. And my only reason for bringing that up is I had the privilege of seeing Luciano Pavarotti perform in Italy. And it was one of the most magical days of my life.
I can't even imagine.
It was just one of these, is this really happening to me
Yeah.
moments. And so I kind of relived that last night listening to Jaime was his name. Jaime.
My wife wants a place in Tuscany.
Does she?
Yeah.
I can give you plenty of suggestions.
Please do. 'Cause
Yeah.
I told her, I said, listen, you know, I was in Venice for a while, but
Yep.
I said, you want a place in Tuscany, you have to do the research. I'm
Yep.
not doing the research.
Tuscany or Umbria is great. It's beautiful. There's
It's
so many
beautiful.
important parts that, but it's almost all come back to the people for me.
Yeah.
We're really grateful to be there on behalf of the Seattle Sister City organization, which is Perugia, which is the provincial capital of Umbria. So anyway, it was an incredible experience.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I actually want to touch on your other book.
Yeah.
Which one are you?
Which One Am I is
Which
a
One Am
book
I?
that I wrote
Thank
for my mother, and I discovered through that experience that I knew many, many people who shared the attributes of my mother, and so I reached out to about 15 people, and a dozen of them said yes, and these are all people that I live to honor, and so each chapter is about a different person, but the similarity of them is that they kind of show up in the world like my mother did. So
Yeah, I kind of started reading it a little bit. I liked it a lot. I thought it was
Oh, thank you.
very awesome.
I have a third book that should be, or not should, I've already set the launch date, so it's got to come out.
Better be
kind of
coming
hard to
out.
have a book launch without a book.
Yeah.
Which is called Hope Dealer. And it's a memoir of the last 20 years of my life and all the interesting experiences that and people that I've met and would not probably have met if I wasn't doing this philanthropy and fundraising work. So
That's amazing,
yeah,
man.
I'm excited to, and I'm right in the throes of writing it. So
Yeah, glad to have this chat with you because, you know, since you started talking, it was about your mother.
yeah,
And I love my mother. She passed away at 61, but my mother was everything to me. You know what I mean? I lived through my mother.
yeah,
I talk to my mom every night, every once in a while.
That's
especially
good.
when I need her, you know, like, hey, can you help me with this one? You know, you know. So yeah, I was a mama's boy, and everything that I needed, I had to go through my mom. I
Yep.
wanted her opinion, I wanted
Approval.
her suggestion, and her approval.
Yeah.
So
I think also too, the more you honor your mother, the more you value your own life.
that's right.
Sure.
And I feel the same way about my dad. But my mom, again, I had this as we started this conversation. It it's a major gratitude moment for me when I think about what my father and my grandfather brought into my life and what my mother brought into my life. And I really, again, live each day to honor her and my father and my grandfather, but my mom in particular really shows up and informs my actions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see the gift of life that has been brought to me.
Well, I know I'm 43 and my mom's still here, but
Yeah.
even now when I talk to her and she says, I'm proud of you, it still means a lot.
Heck yeah.
Some
Absolutely.
people be like, I need to call. I wish I can call my mom.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know.
We
Yeah.
are also fortunate that we've had such wonderful parents
Right.
that we can now pass that on because we
Yeah.
have such a
Definitely.
I also
Deep,
think that's
deep
partly.
knowledge.
Oh, go ahead, Patrice.
no, that's fine.
Oh, I also think that's part of my draw to be of service to either foster children organizations or trafficking organizations where kids didn't get the same shake that I did.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the draw for that is
Yeah.
that I was given that, and I just want to do everything I can to help those that were not, because there's unfortunately plenty of them, and that's how I make my decisions.
My daughter, one of my daughters, she doesn't really want to have kids. She said that if she does, she thinks she might adopt, and I'm 100%
cool.
for that. I think that's very great. So we'll see. We'll see how she's still young. You know, she's still growing up. But I told her that's amazing if that's something that you want to do.
I adopted my 2 children in my 50s.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for
And
doing
you're a
that.
great mother.
And they're the loves of my life.
Yes, they
And the whole fostering system is so important. And I was at a function last night in Burien where they really support the children, the foster children that are aging out.
Yep.
And that is something that is so important. I mean,
It's a
just
big
imagine
deal.
being an 18-year-old and not having a family and not knowing where you're going to turn next and not having that person to mentor you and love you. That is really
Not having any kind of
important
a
in
safety net.
humanity. Yeah.
No,
really
nowhere
important.
to go
And that's
home
become,
when you need to.
fortunately, that has become a known issue. And a number of nonprofits have formed because of this age out. And there was also some legislation at one point, I don't know if it made it out of committee, that was meant to offer benefits to kids to 25. And again, I used to be involved in legal legislation, but I just don't have time for it. But that's the seed often of change is legislative work. But like I said, I can't go to Olympia every week like everybody else.
Right.
So
But we can engage and
No
really,
question.
do what we can to help those that are in so much in need. And that's really important. So thank you for bringing that up.
yeah, no, it's important. And the foster system did not really exist when Anna and Mary were left at the school. It was just a support network is what it really was. And it started with the police department, and there really was not a good system. And they happened to be they were Eskimos, Indians. And so that complicated it. And so my parents never had to adopt them. They just had to agree to a care agreement from the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Oh, really?
And that's how it worked, because these kids were not adoptable.
Right.
Wow.
To
So-
get approvals to do that.
Yeah.
I had a friend that adopted 2 daughters, I believe, from, I think it was China.
Yeah.
And they had to go over there, and I don't think it was very difficult for them to do it either. They just were like, pay some money and take them home with you kind of thing.
There's lots of kids in this, they're right in,
Oh,
my
yeah.
daughters are from this community.
Sure.
And, they were passed around from foster home to foster home for off and on for a few years. And it's just tragic, and it's so important that
I
we
agree.
take care of the kids.
Definitely.
No, it's such a gift to be able to be that answer for kids, but it's also a massive commitment, as you know,
Oh, it is,
Patrice,
for
a
sure.
gigantic endeavor to start a family that's already that already exists. So
Yeah,
thank you for being
Definitely.
the answer for those kids.
Well,
definitely.
it was the best thing I've ever done in my life. Best part of my life.
That's awesome.
So good.
Question for you
Mhm.
in all of your philanthropy work that you've done. Excuse me. Hamp's got a nonprofit.
Yes, I read about it.
He kind of operates it on his own. What advice would you have for him to help grow that?
Don't stop. Ask people like me to help you.
I need help.
Yeah.
I've been doing it since 2018. So yeah, I do it on my own self. You know, I just keep pushing. You know, I just keep doing. I have no idea. I have no idea plan on stopping at all. Not at all.
So getting people around you that share your vision and your passion is one piece of advice, but then also being able to look at what you've done in the past that made you feel. I believe the joy goes to the giver, and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
For sure.
So revisiting the things that created the most amount of joy in your life and trying to find other people to help you scale that.
Right.
And I'm one of those. I'm a scaler. I take people's visions and I take people's passion and I take people's honor and I try to do my best to find the resources. One of my core goals in life is to be resourceful because you can't help everybody, but you can find that resource to match with that need.
Right.
And that's who I am. I'm kind of the guy in the middle that's trying to help causes figure out not just how to raise money, but how to raise board members, how to raise venues, how to raise
Awareness.
Awareness. I'm not that much of a PR guy, but I got a bunch of people around me that are.
Yeah.
And so again, ask me to help you.
Okay, we'll do it for sure.
That's the advice.
Perfect.
And I'll help you too.
Yeah, because you get all kind of stories. You get people. You need somebody to help write a grant, or you need somebody to donate here, donate there, donate there.
I'm glad that you brought that up because we are in a sea change of funding where we should not and absolutely will not in this next year anyway, in this political sea change, see a lot of public dollars available for these purposes.
Right.
So who wears the money, right?
Right.
That's why my phone is ringing right now, is because a number of people whose funds have been frozen are saying,
right,
what are we going to do?
Different budgets, different,
Well, it's a political sea change.
Yes.
This money may never come back.
Right.
So I am trying to be the answer for people who are used to receiving public money. And it's not easy. It's not an easy conversation because often someone says, well, we usually get $50,000 every 6 months. And it's been clockwork for 8 years. For 8 years. And now it sounds like it's not going to come. What should we do?
Yeah, it's like I just had an interview about 3 weeks ago with South Sound Explorer.
Yep.
Yeah. Seattle Southside.
Yeah, they came in, did 2 interviews with me, and we started talking about donations and stuff like this. And they said, well, we get to do we get money from certain brands. We would love to distribute some out to you, whatever, So hadn't, still working on it. They just reached out to me in an email and asked me a few other questions. But so it should be coming out in about a week or so, they said.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to receive those funds where you can get them, but I believe going forward here in this next year, there's going to be a number of causes that are going to be in a panic situation. Yeah. And again, I'm trying to offer all the answers that I have. Sure. And the hope. That's why I consider myself a hope dealer. That it's not all about public money. There is plenty of dollars sitting. We just have to appeal to those that have a passion for whatever it is that we have and align those two, again, to be resourceful.
Yeah. It sounds to me like a lot of it is going to, maybe not a lot of it, but we're going to have to do a lot more of digging into our own pockets to keep these things going.
You know what, though? It's community-based need. It's solving needs in the community, by the community, with the community. And one of the things my mother told me, and I use this every day, is that everybody can do something, right? So, for example, if we need dollars to buy food, why don't I just ask you to make the food?
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
Right? If we need a place to host it and you have a barn that you're not using, why don't we just host it at your barn?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
If you think that Michael Powers cares about foster kids, why don't you call Michael and say, hey, as a donation for this event, would you please perform for an hour?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
you call Brown Vineyards and say, hey, we're doing this event. And we're trying to do this so that the immense amount of the money that we raise goes to the cause. Would you give us a couple of cases of wine?
Right.
So what we just did right here was we created an event to replace a grant that's not coming.
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
this is what
100%.
I'm spending all my time doing right now.
Yeah.
Is trying to talk people off the edge.
Yeah.
That there's funding out there. It's just we really have to look within our own community now.
You seeing good responses?
Absolutely, because everybody can do something.
Right.
Right. Everybody can do something.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
the
a
beauty,
mindset change.
the beauty of Des Moines is that it is a community of collaborators.
Absolutely.
And we have found that. And it's,
Yeah.
Everybody is, we're helping each other now.
Yeah.
We're helping each other. I don't do this particular thing in my foundation, but you do. So let's work together to make this more than.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
the beauty of what we can accomplish now when we put our heads to it.
Absolutely. And everybody wants to help.
Yeah.
It's just they don't necessarily know how to help or whether the way that they can help is valued. And it turns out everything matters.
Everything,
Like I
yeah.
said, when we're putting together an event, we need someone to cook. We need someplace to host it. We need a host. We need someone to donate the wine.
Yep.
And we need someone to basically find 5 of their friends to help us serve the food.
And I can tell you from experience, just being a strong back and a set of hands is a lot of help sometimes
Yep.
too. Yeah. I've been the guy hauling tables, hauling ice, just
You sure have.
just
and
running
thank you.
around and making sure things are getting wherever they need to go.
Yeah.
and
Thank you
just-
for that.
Yeah, just that alone is
Remember what
help.
my mom said? Everybody can do something.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So everybody wants to help.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're about at an hour.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this
Wow.
was awesome. I'd love to have you back again.
Oh,
I feel
I
like
would
we
too.
barely scratched the surface. Patrice, we're gonna set up some stuff just for you as well.
Right. We're going to talk about some wonderful upcoming events.
Yes, you got a lot. Always. Hamp, you got any other questions? Or
Oh, no,
anything?
no, this was just a great day to have this chat. Got to learn so much and got to meet you.
Absolutely.
you.
Had Patrice sit in and full of knowledge,
Yeah.
history for you guys.
Yeah.
History that I learned today, not that I.
And now you're a stakeholder in this community that we all care about, and that matters a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things I would share is if you want to know more about just the things that I'm doing or the resources that I can provide, it's very simple. It's LarryJSnyder.com.
Yep.
And my last name is spelled SNYDER.
Perfect. Yeah.
One of my friends back home named Larry Snyder, but
Is
he's
that right?
black.
Oh, gotcha. Next time I'll tell you a funny story about that. Okay. Do you want to hear one more quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, please.
So when I was just getting started in the fundraising auction business, there was a guy named Larry Taylor in Seattle who everyone loved, and he was wonderful. He was a African-American auctioneer, and he was really a rare breed, so to speak. He was a fun guy. He had great energy.
Yeah.
And he was the only African-American auctioneer in the Pacific Northwest. Okay. Unfortunately, Larry had some kidney problems and then was out of the scene for a while and then left us, unfortunately. And so here comes Larry Snyder, right?
The new Larry.
And anyway, so I was asked to come to a meeting one time, and there was some communication errors about who was hiring the auctioneer or whatever. And so the people thought they hadn't got the word that Larry Taylor was no longer with us, but I was invited to this meeting.
They knew Larry was coming.
They knew Larry the auctioneer was coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Larry the auctioneer walks in the room, and it's like,
Who are you?
Yeah, that's not Larry.
this is not right. Anyway, that happened more than once, believe it or not.
That's funny.
And yeah, so we had a good laugh about that. But and God rest his soul, he was a really special man who did a lot for foster kids. In fact, Larry did a lot. In fact,
Awesome.
Treehouse was his
Oh, wow.
big passion.
That's
So
amazing.
anyway, so I'll leave it at that.
No, that's great. Go ahead and throw your books out there again for everybody.
Sure. Available on Amazon. 10 Years in Tuscany. Again, that is a memoir about our life in Montanare. That's the name of our little family village. And then Which One Am I? Also is available on Amazon. On the 5th of June, Hope Dealer is coming out, and that there'll be a lot opportunities for speaking and sharing about that. And that's pretty much the last 25 years of my life, the people that I've met, what their impact in the world has been, whether it's here in the United States or West Africa, Central America, or Southeast Asia.
Very cool.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we'd love to invite you back to Des Moines because that's right before our Bayside Sneaker Ball.
Oh,
It's
cool.
going to be a red carpet event, and we want you to come.
Oh, that would be great.
So that'd be fun.
Thank you.
Very cool. If you had to pick a foundation that needs to be focused on right now, I know you're just in California, but for everybody listening, what would you suggest that what's the top thing you think that we need to be focused on right now?
Well, in this community, it's the Legacy Foundation for sure, because as I mentioned earlier, the Des Moines Legacy Foundation is doing the work of what's been here in this community, what is here, and in the future. And I think that's important to me. There's a lot of cause and a lot of need out there, but in this community, the Des Moines Legacy Foundation for sure was the one I would support.
There you go, Patrice.
Thank you, Larry. I know there was a reason why we invited you.
And won't you remind the folks out there again about what you got going on with it? So.
Well, Legacy Foundation, our purpose is to support our seniors, our children, our families, human services, and the arts, and really just to make Des Moines a better place. And that's what we're all about. And so we've got a couple of events coming up, and I mentioned the Bayside Sneaker Ball.
That's great.
And that's going to be on June 14th, and it's going to be a wonderful time. And lights, camera, action. We missed the Oscars tonight, but we are going to have that on the 14th of June.
And I think Stick Lounge Podcast will be broadcasting live.
Stick Lounge is going to be there.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is one
live.
One last thing I definitely want
please.
to offer you is the help to get the word out about this lounge, because I think
Please
it's a
do.
really wonderful opportunity for small events.
Yeah.
Small events are hard to find, both affordable but also hospitable places. And I can tell this would be a really good one for it. So
yeah, we've had not much yet. We're still new, but the last party we had here was awesome. Everybody had a really great time.
That's great.
And we try to be, just like you said, very hospitable.
Yep.
And I will say that we are very hands-on with the whole situation.
That's good.
It's not like you said, we're small business. We're
It's
here
important.
the entire time for what you need. So
good.
Oh, but it's comfortable. It's beautiful. It's
No, I love
very,
it. It's great.
Yeah, it's just
very Des
warm.
Moines.
Yeah, it's very Des Moines. It's
yeah,
good to
and
hear.
the studio too. One of the gentlemen
And
at
classy.
Thank you. One of the gentlemen at the last party, he wants to start his own podcast, and so
great.
we are actually renting out this studio. So
Good.
if anybody wants to create this kind of media, I mean, you and I were talking about it earlier. I
Yep.
think it's a great form of getting your word out there.
No question.
long
Long
format,
form.
So
And where are you?
where it location wise?
In Des Moines?
Yeah, we're in Des Moines.
Oh, you are.
Let me ask. You say Des Moines. He says Des Moines. I've always said Des Moines.
So do
and
you
everybody
know-
makes a joke about how you say it.
Do you know why?
I do.
Yeah. So
Explain.
the Dutch people that settled Des Moines, Washington, were from
Des Moines,
Iowa.
Iowa.
I did know that.
And that was how they
I
differentiated.
found that out at the museum across the street.
Yeah, that's how they differentiated it in conversation. Was Des Moines is here, Des Moines is there.
Gotcha. That part I did know. So Des Moines was Des Moines. Des Moines is here.
Well,
Got
it's
it.
all acceptable.
So one with an S, one without an S.
Des Moines in Iowa has the S, they just don't pronounce
They
it.
just don't
they
pronounce.
just don't
Okay,
pronounce
there
it.
it
Des Moines,
is.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's spelled exactly the
It's
same.
the French.
When we first moved here, I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying this right or
All good.
because I heard it
It's
different
all
ways.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. All right. Anything else?
Thank you. No, thank you so much
No,
for
thank you,
allowing me
Larry.
to be here.
What a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you, Patrice.
Great to see you again,
You
Larry.
too. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Take us out, Joe.
All right, here we go.
All
Joe
right.
and Hampton, lights dim, it's game time. Interview sharp, cut through like a shank line. Stick lounge, stories unfold, real and raw. From hustlers to dreamers, breaking laws with a claw. Microphone warriors, capturing life's conflicts. Sitting across legends, tales flick like black pics. Drop bars, not mics, knowledge, it rains. From the streets to the beats in every vein. Stick lounge podcast, tales heavy with the weight. Real lives, gritty stories, never fake. Joe and